only 3 rings can be called the Dark Souls rings of power, but which one is the GOAT, the one ring to rule them all? This video tries to answer that question, so if you're ever asked, what rings you got? Bitch! You can answer confidently, and also lore dump the entire history of the ring too, because rings tell us Fina had more lovers than Lautrec, rings tell us Havel's identity, and rings tell us a lot about who wears them. The Fat Boy ring. Havel's ring is a community favourite. It's the second most sold cosplay ring online. But if you want a From Software authorised version, expect to pay over $400 as they're not made anymore. We think we'll stick to the digital. Havel's ring boosts our equipment load by a boulder sized 50%. It helps you become more like the immovable rock himself. But it also reveals a lot of lore. To look at it, you can guess Havel designed it. Havel the Rock dresses in rock, carries a shield of rock, and wields a tooth of dragon rock. Havel seems to have made this ring, and instead of jewels he has placed little rocks. But at the centre of the ring is a real eye-catcher, a big rock. Well, you can't deny that the ring gets the job done. But an important question is, who forged it? A ring this powerful would need a master craftsman, and surely Havel can't be warrior, dentist, bishop, and blacksmith. Well, maybe the great Havel can do everything, but if Havel didn't make it, our bet is on the Nameless blacksmith deity, who made every great item wielded by the lords and their soldiers. And it wasn't just Havel who wore it. If we get hold of the ring ourselves, we can discover more. You all know we have to kill the Havel in the watchtower to get this ring. And important tip by the way, if you kill Havel at the same time as he kills you, you will lose the ring, so be careful at clutch moments. Once we get the ring and read the description, we are told Havel's men wore the ring to express faith in their leader and carry a heavier load. So not only do we discover that there exist warriors of Havel, but that they almost worshipped him. The fact that he is a bishop agrees with this idea. He is more than just a leader. Respect for Havel has become spiritual. He must have gathered an enormous following in his own time, and he must have been truly unforgettable, because Dark Souls 3 tells us that the art of war has been a constant since ages past, and those who would follow in Havel's footsteps are no fewer now than in his own day. However, his ring brings us another question. If Havel's men wore this ring, is it Havel in the watchtower? The mystery deepens with the watchtower basement key description. The basement of the watchtower forms a stone cell. There are rumours of a hero turned hollow who was locked away by a dear friend. For his own good, of course. Now, at first the community looked at the key description and combined it with the first sentence of Havel's ring and came to a conclusion. This was Havel because he had been locked up by none other than Gwyn. This ring was named after Havel the Rock, Lord Gwyn's old battlefield compatriot. So Gwyn betrayed him for Havel's own good. However, before we get into Havel's identity, this cannot be correct. Why? Because Gwyn left to link the flame before the watchtower basement was even built. It doesn't exist in the DLC, a time well after Gwyn departed for the kiln of the first flame. But some interesting lore is that Havel was so important he fought alongside Gwyn, right next to him as his compatriot, almost on a level with Gwyn's 4 knights, which makes Havel incredibly old, and he may be alive to this day. But from these great beginnings, has Havel the Rock really ended up a mere prisoner in the undead burg? The ring itself can solve the lore here, but not in the ring's English description. It says in Japanese that the ring originates from Havel the Rock, but that it is said to be favoured by warriors who worship him. Originates, meaning it has passed from him. This, combined with the fact that all of Havel's other treasures are safely stowed away in Anor Londo, leads us to the conclusion that it isn't Havel in the watchtower after all. But this is still a mighty hero, a dragon slayer, locked up by his own friend. This hero was so mighty that they couldn't simply arrest him. He was too strong. They had to think of other, more devious methods to lock him up. They waited until he walked into the tower, then destroyed the bridge he walked in on by hurling rocks from above. With one exit blocked forever, they immediately locked the doors above and below. A clever, if cowardly trick, and the hero has been locked in ever since. The true Havel lived on, to carry out his occult plans. and taking more of his men to Ash Lake. Havel's ring boosts equip load by so much, it truly is the one ring to rule them all. This is because it's so damn hard to get that sweet quick roll in Dark Souls 1. In fact, for a lot of the early game, it's hard to fast roll unless you stay naked, so this ring is truly a blessing. The 50% boost even survived to the remastered edition, but since then, Havel's ring has been nerfed. Dark Souls 2 tried to replace it with the Royal Soldier's ring, but come on. And when they wisely brought Havel's ring back, 50% equipment load went to 15. But we have to remember, Dark Souls 1 only had 2 ring slots, Dark Souls 3 had 4. Whether in the first game, far in the future of the sequels, or in the hearts of Dark Souls fans, the followers of Havel still stand with him, founded as the Rock. And even if there is only one other ring slot in Dark Souls 1, there are some legendary ring combinations that can be made with Havel's ring. Simply legendary. One of which is Flipping Havel. Flipping Havel is not myth, but history, because Flipping Havel was once very real. We're sorry to bring up the trauma for those who experienced this monster, and this monster was made possible by the infamous Flip Ring. With the Darkwood Grain Ring, nothing is as it seems. It looks like its name, Dark Wood Grain, but this is an illusion. The ring is actually made of gold and only decorated to look like wood. Once again, we have the work of a master craftsman here, but it is not the nameless blacksmith deity. The ring is crafted in an eastern land, outside of Laudren. Whoever made it is so skilled they can recreate it on command, for it is a favourite of some in this faraway land, meaning there are multiple. We can meet one of the men who wears this ring, though you'd be forgiven for missing him, as he can hardly be seen at all. The owner of the only flip ring in Laudren is a man the community calls Shiva's bodyguard. If we spot him in Darkroot, he has some revealing dialogue. Well, this at least unlocks Shiva's dialogue.
Ah, did you notice that one? Sharp eyes? He is one of the clan from the east, like myself. Always slinking in the shadows, but he is a tough one. You will see what I mean.
So, wearers of these rings slink in the shadows, and these are the types of people who love the flip ring. For this man's ring tells us he is a spook of an eastern land, a secret agent. His other equipment is the shadow set, which says, black cloth mask worn by spooks from an eastern land, designed so as not to hinder their unique form of martial arts. And the flip ring is a very unique martial art. Such flair. You can flip forwards, you can flip back, and even cartwheel side to side. The feeling is honestly not at all like Dark Souls. Maybe the developers had this opinion because they cut this style of roll from future games, yet kept the other wood grain ring. But even if Dark Souls 1 had its quirks, it's the quirks that make it special. If you enjoy flipping and feel it matches the Dark Souls energy you want, there is still something ironic. Flipping is the most attention-drawing roll possible, which is a weird choice for a secret agent. I mean, if you want to say, notice me, you get around like this. But Shiva's bodyguard can use the flip ring as much as he pleases, for on another finger he wears the Ring of Fog, and this makes him nearly invisible. This was given to him by Alvina, and so makes him unique compared to other Eastern travellers. But he differs in one other way to his peers. He should be wielding claws, but he has traded it out. Instead he wields a katana, the Uchi katana, and this answers the question of, just what is he doing in Laudren? This flip ring wearer seems to have deserted whatever mission he was on, and has joined Shiva in his quest for weapons. And Shiva's ultimate quest is for the Chaos Katana. So Shiva's bodyguard also has a taste for katanas, enough to put aside the weapon of his trade. This bodyguard is always by Shiva's side, always watching, always waiting. Shiva has gathered many treasures, but he has not yet found his ultimate prize, the Chaos Blade, the legendary blade of the undead master Makoto.
It's all I could ever wish for.
This katana is his dream, and in cut content, if we found it, Shiva would kill us for it. But what if the true katana connoisseur was always by Shiva's side, waiting for the wily treasure hunter to track the prize down, only to backstab him for it? Speaking of backstabbing, how do we get the ring? Yes, you must join Alvina's covenant, and yes, you then have to betray the covenant, but if you kick him off the cliff, quit the game, grab the ring, homeward bone and then absolve your sins, it's quick and efficient, and you can still buy your weapons from Shiva. But the flip ring story only started with this silent ninja. Once we get the ring, a world of possibilities opens. With this ring, ragdoll physics takes on a whole new meaning. Environmental damage such as lava is massively reduced when flip rolling. The backstep now has invincibility frames. It also looks like you're rolling, which makes it hard to fight against. And better than that, if you get hit in a normal roll, you take 40% extra damage, but mistime a flip and you only take normal damage. Now you can make unique builds. The most famous among them is, of course, flipping Havel. But as it is with all great rings of power, they are nerfed. The flip was possible at 50% equip load, but it is now only at 25%. This is no longer a valid build, and so flipping Havel isn't real. Flipping Havel isn't real. But is this enough to make it the greatest ring of all time? Some experts claim that Dark Souls has nothing to do with shields, armor, or poise, but avoiding taking any damage at all. Who needs poise, or even health, when you have the dodge? Dodge! If this is true, and this is the greatest Dark Souls playstyle, then the flip ring truly is the one ring to rule them all. It increases duration of invincibility, it increases length of roll, it increases thickness of your finger. However, it isn't perfect. You cannot roll in poor footing with this ring, making it a major liability against certain enemies. You also cannot stack the rings for a double tuck flippity flip. And while we personally like the design, it isn't popular for fashion souls. There aren't any sales of replicas of this ring in the real world, because no one has ever bothered to make it. And some of us want gold to look like gold. And speaking of gold, kicking off ledges, and the greatest ring of all time, it makes us think of a certain legend, more fearsome even than flipping Havel. But this legend was once made real by a certain ring, the Fat Ring. The Fat Ring is the most popular ring in the real world, with current sales nearly double Havel's ring. It also has exceptional lore. We can get this ring by killing Lautrec the Embraced. The ring says, a ring symbolizing the favour and protection of the goddess Fina, known in legend to possess fateful beauty. His armour further stresses the romantic connection between human and goddess, saying, Armour of Lautrec the Embraced, representing the goddess Fina's love. The goddess's arms wrap around it, as if to embrace the wearer. Lautrec himself is certainly devoted. He is carrying out the mission of his goddess, even though she is nowhere to be seen. Has she left Anolondo like so many other gods? If Fina possesses fateful beauty as the ring says, it must be quite something, as even Guinevere's beauty is never mentioned. This ring is quite a gift. At first glance, it seems Fina must really love Lautrec to give such a treasure. It gives favour, it gives protection, it boosts HP, stamina and max equip load, everything you could ever want. Except it has one downside, which tells us a lot about this goddess. The ring breaks if ever removed. Fina is a jealous goddess. She only favours Lautrec if he stays faithful to her. Interestingly, you can swap the ring across slots without it breaking, but trade it for another ring and lose it forever. An interesting question is, if we kill Lautrec, doesn't the fat ring come off his finger? And if so, why doesn't it break? Our lore take on this is Fina doesn't care if you die, as long as you die in love with her. And if the ring lives on, and it brings another to fall in love with her, all the better. Which makes sense, as the ring survives until Dark Souls 3, which is surely impossible if it dies with its former wearer. It left us in Dark Souls 2, replaced in spirit by the dragon rings, but come on, Even the third dragon ring doesn't compare to the Fat ring. The developers realised their mistake and we got it back in the third game, though nerfed. Yet even in Dark Souls 3, Fina is called fickle. Let's return to Ordon to find out why. Lautrec's ring is a gift of love, so it could only be found once, right? It is not only her ring's behaviour that is fickle, but Fina's own changing loyalties, because in the same playthrough we can find a second ring of favour and protection. If we trade an item with Snuggly the Crow, we receive this infamous second ring, the second Fat ring. No other custom ring can be received twice in a single playthrough, which means Fina has turned to another while her sweetheart was on his lonely quest. But who? If Lautrec, the bad boy human, wasn't a strange enough choice for a goddess, Fina has really pushed the limits with her next lover. For you only get the ring if you trade the Xanthus crown. Xanthus King Jeremiah is likely Fina's other lover, or indeed one of many. Fina seems to like those dressed in yellow, but otherwise we don't see many similarities. Jeremiah is certainly unique and a demonic choice for a lover. Indeed, her fateful beauty may take on further meaning here. All of the Izalith family can be found, eldest daughters, sons, spider daughters, mothers, but no father. Jeremiah is a king who knows the most secret magic of the Izalith family, but he is kicked out of his homeland. Did Fina's fateful beauty cause this rupture? And fateful beauty is also a description given to Helen of Troy. Could competition over Fina's love even have led to war? Speaking of demonic things, in Dark Souls 3 the ring is found on Sullivan's beast. Is this Lautrec of the future, warped like the gaping dragon by his hunger for Fina? Or like Guts from Berserk, warped by his inner rage? Or Fina's next, even weirder choice of lover? Or is it just a doggo that has eaten the most recent ring bearer? And a final piece of lore on the ring is, what is the image on its face? Is it a thistle, or perhaps a flower? It's a remarkable design, but we couldn't figure out what it was. Let us know if you have any ideas. As always, no ring is perfect. You cannot double fap, because this ring doesn't stack. You also lock your build in for the future, and you have to align with Fina, which doesn't have a good track record. You don't even get to meet her, unlike others who we can give our loyalty to. But this ring has history, for with it, you could make the legend.
Giants, 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 become unstoppable. What rings you got, bitch?
And there may be more today who worship the legend than worship the flip, or even worship Havel himself. Its power, its history, its name must make it the one ring to rule them all. But we will let the community decide. Vote below for your one ring. And like this video if you want more Lore of the Rings. There are awesome stories behind the Serpent Rings, the Cursebite Rings, and the Rings of the Four Knights. If this video gets 4K likes, we will do an episode 2. Subscribe so you don't miss it.